Students, now we will move forward in our chapter, sexual reproduction in flowering plants. So here we will discuss about the development of anther and the formation of pollen grain. So first we will see how the anther develops. Now we can see that this one is the young anther, and this young anther is having four lobules on its each corner. So we can see here that this one, all these corners are representing the lobules, and after some time the hypodermal cells of this anther modifies into a special kind of cell which is called as archisporial cells. These archisporial cells are modified cells as compared to the rest of the cells. What will happen next? So these archisporial cells will go through periclinal division, and it forms two layers of cells. The outer layer of cells will be called as primary parietal layer, and the inner layer of cells will be called as primary sporogenous cells. So we can see here that the outer layer of the cells will be called as primary parietal layer, and the inner layer of cells will be called as primary sporogenous cells. Now, this primary parietal layer will finally form the wall of anther, and the wall of anther is composed of four different kinds of layers, and the layers are epidermis, endothecium, middle layer, and tapetum. So all these layers will be formed by this outer cells. So this outer cell, as I told before, that will be called as primary parietal layer. So the the outermost wall of the anther will be epidermis, and below the epidermis there will be a columnar cells which helps in dehiscence of the anther to spread the microspores will be called as endothecium, and the third layer will be called as middle layer, and this middle layer after some time degenerates before pollination, and the fourth layer, which is called as tapetum, it provides nutrition to the microspore, and these cells are uh, having dense cytoplasm. These will be multinucleated cells, and as I told that these cells provide the nutrition to the microspore. So all these four cells are having specific function. So we have already seen the transverse section of the anther. So now we can again see the structure, but before that we will see what happens to the inner layer. So the inner layer, which is known as primary sporogenous cells, will go through mitosis, and it forms microspore mother cell, and these microspore mother cells go through meiosis and form pollen grain. So now we will understand the whole structure of the anther by this figure. So we have already seen this figure, but to understand completely how the anther develops, we can see this structure. So this one is the fully developed anther. So this one is epidermis, then endothecium. You can see there is a continuous layer which is called as endothecium, and this endothecium helps in dehiscence. And after that, there is a group of cells which is called as middle layer, and after middle layer, around each of the microsporangium, there is a layer of tapetum. So all these four cells, epidermis, endothelium, middle layer, and tapetum, is formed by the outer layer, and this microspore. This microspore has been formed from the microspore mother cell, and the microspore mother cell has been formed from the primary sporogenous cells. Now we'll understand the microsporogenesis. So microsporogenesis is nothing but the formation of microspore from the spore mother cell. So microsporogenesis means formation of microspore, and as I told that these microspores are formed by the microspore mother cell by the process of meiosis. So we can see here the sporogenous tissue, which is diploid in nature, forms the spore mother cell. It is again diploid, and through meiosis it forms microspore tetrad. So these microspore tetrads have been formed by the process of meiosis, so it will become the haploid cells. So we can see here this structure is representing the microspore tetrad, and when they will be dissociated, then the individual microspore will be called as pollen grain or microspore. So we can see here that how the pollen grain forms. So sporogenous tissue, and these sporogenous tissue are the inner cells which we have seen before, that how it forms from the archisporial cells, and after that after the periclinal division, the inner cells will form the sporogenous tissue. This sporogenous tissue forms the spore mother cell, then the spore mother cell forms the microspore tetrad, and after that it dissociates and forms the pollen grain. Now we'll see how the dehiscence of anther takes place. So, this is a step-by-step process. And what is the meaning of dehiscence? Dehiscence is the breakage of the wall of the anther and spreading the spore. So, so what will happen first? The mature anther dries up. After that, the sterile cells, means the middle layer cells, as I told before, it disintegrates. So when the sterile cells or middle cells disintegrates, then what will happen? Both the microsporangiums will join together. After that, what will happen? The cells of the endothelium contract from the outside, so, so it results a radial wall becomes nearer. Then what will happen? The endothelium shortens and ruptures anther wall to, towards the stomium region. And towards the stomium region, due to drying of the cells, the spores will be exposed and stomium will open the anther wall. So when the anther wall will open, then the spores present inside the microsporangium will be exposed and released for the pollination. Now we'll understand the structure of the pollen grain in detail here. So pollen grains or microspores are also known as male gametophyte, and generally it is spherical, although it there is a wide variation in the structure also in different plants, but generally it is spherical in structure, and its size ranges from 25 to 50 micrometer in diameter, and the wall of the pollen grain will be encircled by two layers. The outer layer will be called as exine and the inner layer is called ecdyne. And the outer layer, exine, is made up of sporopollenin. So we will see the details of the sporopollenin just because it is a very important component of the exine. So we can see this structure. This is the rough structure of the pollen grain. So we can see here that the pollen grain is covered by a layer which is called as exine, and below this exine there is a continuous layer which is called as intine. So exine, we can see here that exine is not a continuous structure, so somewhere it is absent. So where the exine is absent, then the space will be called as germ pore. It means where the exine will absent and intine will be there, or we can say where the intine is exposed to the outer environment will be called as germ pore. And inside this, we can see here there is a cytoplasm, and inside this cytoplasm there is a generative cell. Generative cell, and the larger part of this pollen grain will be called as vegetative cell. So it is, we can say that the pollen grain is generally two cell structure, where the smaller cell will be called as generative cell and the larger cell will be called as vegetative cell. Now we will see some details about this pollen grain. So exine is composed of sporopollenin, as I told before. It is the hardest or resistant material on the earth, which can withstand with a high temperature, strong acid, alkali, and any enzymatic reaction. So sporopollenin, as we can see here, is the hardest material on the earth, and it protects the inner cytoplasm or inner cells, and the name of the cells are generative cells and vegetative cells. So main function of the exine and intine is to provide protection to these cells so that the pollen grain can survive in harsh environment also. And uh, we have got some pollen grain which have been survived throughout several hundred years also. So this is the reason pollen grain can withstand in adverse conditions also. So uh, sporopollenin is considered to be the oxidative polymer of the carotenoid and or carotenoid ester. So this is the basic composition of the sporopollenin, and the pollen tube emerges from the germ pore of the pollen grain where exine is absent. Generally, dicots have three germ pores, and the dicot which are having pollen grain with three germ pores germ pores will be called as trichoplates. So we can see here again that these are the germ pores. This one, this one, this one. So where the exine will be absent, then that place will be called as germ pore. And in future, what will happen? The formation of pollen tube will be taken place from this place only, because it will not be able to break the exine. So where the exine will be absent, the pollen tube will be formed from there. Now, the monocot has only one germ pore. So we can see the difference between monocot and dicot pollen grain. In case of most of the monocots, there is a single germ pore, and in case of dicot plants, there will be three germ pores. Now, the pollen grain has a dense cytoplasm. It is obvious that it has to wait for some time up to the time when it is not reaching to the stigma for the fertilization. That's why the pollen grain is having the dense cytoplasm so that the cells can get the nutrition up to that time. So in insect pollinated flower, exine is covered with yellowish, viscous, sticky substances called pollenkin, which helps in pollination. So this is again one important point. And again here, in 60% angiosperms, the pollen grains are released at two-celled stage while remaining in three-celled stage. So we have seen the two-celled stage structure of the pollen grain. So around 60% of the angiosperm is having two cells, vegetative cell and generative cells, and rest of the 40% of the angiosperm are having three cell pollen grain. So how the three cell stage will be formed? The generative nucleus go through the mitotic division and it forms two generative nucleus. So what will happen? Now it will form the three cell pollen grain, but it occurs in 40% of the angiosperm. But in case of majority of the angiosperm, as we have seen the structure of the pollen grain, it will be like that only. The pollen grains are rich in nutrients, so commercially it is also commercially available in the form of syrup and tablets. So we people can get the nutrition from the pollen grain also, just because we have seen that it is having a nutritious material. So the athletes and several persons have been using these pollen grains in the form of syrup and tablets to get the nutrition. Now, these pollen grains can cause allergies and cause the bronchial infections, leading to serious lung problem also. So these pollen grains can also elicit, elicit the allergy also. Now, when we talk about the viability of these pollen grains, then some of the plants show the few minutes of the viability, such as the cereals, but some of the plants show several years of the viability. It depends on the plant. So there is a wide variation among the viability in different species of the plant, and these pollen grains can also be preserved in the liquid nitrogen for several years also. Thank you.